Hello, welcome to Be the Hero Academy. I'm Robin. You might have discovered us through our travel brand, Nomads with a Purpose, or maybe through our mindfulness website, Making Mindfulness Fun, or from an online summit or podcast. But for whatever brought you here, I'm so excited to share with you what Be the Hero Academy can do for you. Okay, I have a motto: wake up excited, but that wasn't always my motto in life. It has been for the last 10 years, and it has taken me on a really exciting journey in life. But what I hope to do here is share with you the exact thing that Be the Hero can do for you, which is to teach you how to more fully love yourself, to feel more empowered, and to create a deeper connection with your family. Because for me, family is really important. And the way that I found this really amazing, dynamic, deep connection isn't just because we traveled. It had to do with the empowerment journey that I went on and how I discovered self love. And because I filled this tank, I can give back to not only my family, but I can give back to you too. So let's dive into what I can do. What is be for somebody who's thinking and saying to themselves, I love my family. They're amazing. I feel so grateful. But I often feel frustrated, exhausted, unappreciated, bored, and stuck in a routine which I don't want to be in for another decade or more. Do you ever feel like that? You're like, ah, or you might be somebody who just wants more excitement, more connection, and more harmony in your life. Like, do you just wish there was a little bit more teamwork and that your kids kind of volunteer to help out more often? Or maybe you just want more family cohesiveness for everyone to be on the same track. Okay, do you wish you had more time to do hikes or biking or exercise, meditating, journaling, reading a book, or maybe, like I was before 2012, you just wish you were more confident and courageous to go do things on your own? Or who a little bit stuck or lost and anxious and just has trouble relaxing. You're not exactly sure what a good life is to you, and you want some clarity around this. You need help balancing your needs while also having enough time and energy to meet the needs of your family. Maybe it's for relationships. Maybe you feel like you need your marriage to feel more connected. You wish you and your spouse had similar wants or you had shared goals. Look, I used to feel. Up until 2009, that was my life. I feel you. I know the frustration. I know the pain. And I know that at the same time, you really are grateful. You really, really love your life. But it's just like this itch that you want to scratch. And like, could there be more? I'm just curious, Robin. Is there more to life? I really Either I want more for myself, I want more in my relationship with my kids, with my spouse, in my career and my health. There's just something that I want a little bit more of. Then you're in the right place. 2009 to 2, I went from feeling very stuck, angry, sad, frustrated, all of it, to feeling extremely empowered. Today, I'm going to share with you how I went from overwhelmed, exhausted, and bored to where I wanted to be, which is today, to feel connected, to feel excited, and to have a relationship. In 2009, I know it's hard to believe if you follow me on any social media or know anything about my backstory, but in 2009, I was happily married to a supportive and hardworking husband. I ran a successful brick and mortar business where our kids got to tumble. We had a small business in Coronado, California, where we taught gymnastics in one area, and we had spinning for a while, and then turned it into just a personal training gym next door. It was great. We lived in a beautiful, what I thought at the time was my dream home, 3,000 square feet, brand new track home, put in a pool and a jacuzzi and a water slide, a big barbecue area. We were the fit family. Like, everyone looked up to us like, "Hey, what should I eat to look like you? What do you do for workouts? Are you CrossFit? Are you this?" And all of our kids were very athletic. Our kids were also extremely well behaved. They were happy homeschooling. They had great friends. They were healthy. They really enjoyed their activities. Every year we would travel to Hawaii. I mean, this was the dream. I get it. It was the dream. I should have no a lot of complaints. It's like our life was so busy. I felt like I was an Uber driver. It's just there's so many activities. I had to be at work and my business, my house and my work was like a 45-minute drive with a ton of traffic. There were always projects that had to be done. It felt like the one day we'd have off of work on Sundays, there was always something to do or to fix, or so much money that needed to go into maintenance. I'd spend so much of my day cleaning, picking up, organizing. I loved our extended family, but they'd be over every weekend, or we'd have to be at their place every weekend. And it just felt like high maintenance. Our friends, the kids' friends were nice, but it was it felt like there was just never a time for just the 5, 6, 7 of us, depending what time of, what year it was, but as our family grew, I just wanted time just us, okay? And while our business was great, it was fairly easy to run, profitable, it was still a lot of hours, and it didn't really spark joy anymore. When I started it, I was really passionate about it, but after, 10 years of doing the same thing, you wanna try new things. My husband was always working, and when he was home, he was always recovering. He was exhausted a lot of the time, and that was hard for me. Um, I felt like, I think a lot of moms feel like this. I felt like I had to manage everything. And that if I didn't, everything would just unravel. If I even like relaxed or took a breath, I was so worried, like just balls were going to drop. It was a little bit of being too much of a control freak, to be honest. But at the same time, I felt like I couldn't, like it was my whole identity was wrapped up in this. And on top of it, all the work I did, I didn't necessarily feel appreciated for it. I started having this craving for like, is there more? I want more adventure, more nature, experiencing new things. I mean, yeah, going to Hawaii was great, but it was getting a little bit predictable and boring. I wasn't living on island, but I did feel like I had island fever. And I really wanted to do something that would have a huge impact on my kids just beyond homeschooling. The homeschooling was great, but it was like this it was first like the idea of like, what if we went to every national park or what if we traveled to every state? I was starting to think these things. Little did I know where my life was going. The big thing is that I just kept thinking to myself over and over, this is great, but is this it? Will the next 20 years of my life really look like this on repeat? Because at that time, I actually in 2009, I only had 4 kids and I still had 18 years ahead of me, but I ended up pregnant a year later. So I had more than that, about 20 years ahead of me. So there were 3 really big forces at work here that I did not realize until much later. Okay. I had no idea. Number one was that I was trying so hard to be seen as good enough and successful in society's eyes. Like, do you ever catch that about you? Like, you care a lot about what your house looks like, or if people are going to come over, like you want to scurry and clean everything up, or you catch yourself comparing the car you drive to what other cars people drive, or um, I mean, it went further than that for me when I look back at it. It was like I was thinking that my child's success, namely Gabby, because she was our most competitive child, was a direct reflection on my own success. I'd catch that like, oh man, if she wasn't the best player or scored a big enough goal, I'd say like, oh, I don't want her to be disappointed. But I'd catch that deep down, I saw it as a reflection of how worthy and how good I was. And another part is like, I really could not be alone back then. I always needed my husband or my kids to feel safe and significant. Like, compared to me now, at the time, all of that seemed normal to me. It just it's what we did, right? You bought up in houses. You would look like, oh, they're building an add-on on their house. We should get an add-on on our house, or we should put in a better pool, or we should put in this. And there was always money going out to kind of towards more status, and there was always this drive to like make sure my kids are succeeding, make sure I'm setting them up for success, make sure I'm giving them opportunities. And there was this like, hey, I want to spend time with you, I want to be around you. Look, there's nothing wrong with that, but if this resonates, I'm going to tell you, I'm on this other end after this long, amazing but hard self-growth journey where I see, oh wait, I was selling art. Yes, I was bored, frustrated, and exhausted because I was caught in needing validation. I needed to feel significant. I needed to prove myself. And this starts going into detail about, but like, listen, today, the amount of like joy, and we use this word emotional liberation. I am in charge of emotions. That doesn't mean I don't feel emotions, but when I do feel them, I know what to do with them. It's like in meditation when we say, treat meditation and your thoughts like a cloud. You observe them and they pass through. Well, because of this self growth journey, like, I can do that with my emotions. And I'm a moon in Scorpio, so I've got a lot of emotions. Look, I'm still married to a supportive, hardworking husband, but I'm going to tell you what I went through from 2009 to 2024 was not easy. And I have so many great resources inside Be the Hero to help you with that. If you feel like, oh man, but what if I go on this self growth journey and I leave my spouse behind? It happens. It happens to the best of us. But I've learned a lot, and we can hack that down and speed that transition up. In 2013, if you don't know all of our stories, big thing is in 2013 was one of my biggest, bravest, boldest moves that I did was that we went from that house that was like, affordable. It's going to provide this like safety and security, right? Because you're not wasting it on rent. And my husband was supportive and he's like, "You are always at the beach. You are so happy here at the beach. Why don't we just rent a house on the beach?" And so we ended up actually having to foreclose because we didn't transition that time very well. We had to foreclose on that house and just walk away from it. And literally, the last time I walked to that house, I cried tears of joy because it was so like I was at a level of so much happiness from making that decision. But programming tells you don't do that. Play it safe, make the financially smart decision. Now, from that, I've made so many more impactful ones, but it's along that same line as I'm going to get into in this slideshow. So in 2015, that house that we were renting on the beach, that was so amazing. I mean, it was literally on the beach. I would stare out the dining. It was inverted, so the rooms were downstairs, and your living space was upstairs. So the kitchen, dining room, living room were all looked out onto the into the ocean. And I was homeschooling. So the dining room had these beautiful windows staring at the ocean. And I had a 10-foot chalkboard where I would teach my kids and they'd sit at the table and like they were really good listeners always. So they'd sit there like, yes, mom. And I'm doing math and I'd be like, stop, you guys, a pod of dolphins is swimming by. And we'd literally like pause our homeschooling to stare out at the ocean and see the dolphins. And I'd be surfing most mornings with my daughter Gabby, and dolphins would just regularly. It was like 9 o'clock. They knew it must have been when they went to work or something. They'd swim under our surfboards. It was amazing. But she wanted her house back. And the amount of self growth that our family had gone through in those 2 years of living on the beach propelled me to ask, hey, honey, we have an RV. Why don't we just live in it for 5 months? Business is slow during the summer. So it was like beginning of 2015. She wanted her house back at the end of March. I'm like, why don't we'll save money. I tried the practical approach and he's like, my husband always says, sure, dear. So he said, sure. And we moved into it. And in those first 5 months, from April 1st to August 31st, we experienced really in just that a lifetime of vacations. It was incredible. All the places we went, all the things we saw. It filled my soul with so much happiness. All of those things I said, the exhaustion, the boredom, the wanting connection, check. Could have been done. Maybe in retrospect, no, not in retrospect. It was great. Check mark. I did that, but it woke up something bigger in me. And my husband saw it too. And my husband's he doesn't think like me, but he was supportive. And he's like, we need to keep living like this somehow. I don't know how, but you'll figure it out. But we should keep living like this. So now, 2024, almost 10 years later, a lot of our kids have grown up. In that middle picture, on the left in the gray shirt is my oldest son, Daniel, who is now 25. Right next to him in the black shirt standing next to me is Gabby, who's 23 now. And then on the bottom, that's me and my husband, Victor. And then if you go on the top left, the youngest one is Tatiana, who is just about to turn 14. Jariah is 16, the middle one in long hair, who looks like a girl, but it's really a boy. Trimmed his hair quite a bit since back in the days. And then the one flexing the muscles is Isabel, who is 20 years old. And again, if you've seen us on Nomads with a Purpose, you've probably seen all of us, but Gabby, myself, and Isabel run Making Mindfulness Fun together. And when we started Nomads, when we started traveling, it was to inspire travel, movement, and wellness. We were pioneers at the time in not only just travel, but trying to figure out the social media stuff. And to be honest, I didn't really succeed in that part very well. I was too busy teaching, like being what I'm teaching here. My passion has always been self growth. It's always been, before that, it was fitness and health. And so it's really been a big deal, even though we've been kind of branded and put in this travel box. It's about self growth. It's all about learning how to step into a life that you're excited to wake up to. It was that simple for me. If I wasn't excited, I knew something was off. I needed to make a change. It's just that most people have so many programming blocks. They're not willing to do the scary thing, step into uncertainty. I'm going to help you with that though. Okay. So now when we started, the kids were from like 4 to 15, and now I said 14 to 25. Okay. My 3 adult kids are independent, well-balanced adults who often travel us. Most of the time, I think this is an important thing to say. Right now, I'm in St. George, Utah. This is where we have 5 different RVs. The RV there in the middle is the one we moved into, because one of the things my husband said when I said, "Hey, let's move into our RV," he said, "Sure, but I am not doing a truck and trailer. I don't want to deal with towing and backing it in. I want a Class C. Let's go buy a Class C." And so we had that one when we traveled in. And to be honest, we did 4 years straight in that, or we were traveling abroad in lots of different. I'm going to share a little bit about our travels just to show you what is possible. And it's not about travel, but what is possible in where you are now to what you think you want, and how that can create a domino effect into like wanting so much amazing things. Okay, so my oldest son, Daniel, lives in one of our RVs that we lived in for a few years here in St. George. He wanted independence. It took until 2 years ago that he's like, "All right, I want to be self-sufficient here. I want to pay for my own stuff." I think that's an important thing just to note that, look, I'm not trying to, we're not chasing necessarily Harvard. You can, that's cool. But what we're going for is independent, self-reliant, self-responsible, and emotionally balanced kids. At least that's what I thought the goal for me was in parenting was. So, and then Gabby and Isabel have their own another RV, and they pretty much travel wherever we do. The 4 of us on the top are the only 4 that are like in the same RV right now: me, Tati, Victor, and Jariah. So the big thing is that we're trying to, well, you have to ask yourself, what's the whole point of parenthood, right? What's the whole point of engaging in this journey of exhaustion, the things that you're so grateful for, but yet simultaneously sometimes spark so much negative feelings, negative emotions, frustration, boredom, overwhelm, fatigue, all of those things, right? We're all on this journey of like, where's the balance? Why are we doing this? And we get caught in autopilot again, like I'm going to talk about. We get caught in this routine and the monotony and every day, and we go, "Oh, this again. Oh, this again. Oh, this again." And then sometimes we wake up and go, "Maybe that's why you found me, is because you're like, maybe not this again. Maybe something else. Maybe this and something more." So Tati and Jari are my youngest 2 teenagers. I really have so much confidence in talking about this because I have 5 kids who like are self-driven. I think that's very, very, very important to me. If it's not self-driven, it's not important to you, that's okay. But think about the values that are. For me, I want my kids to be self-responsible too. Like they cook and they clean, and they have passion projects they're working on, and they teach themselves how to play instruments, and they're very driven in whatever sport they're doing. In fact, I have the RV to myself because they all wanted to go boulder together, and I'm like, perfect. I climbed a lot yesterday. I can get this recorded. So finding finding those values that are important definitely should be a driving force in deciding if Be the Hero is something that fits. Because I'm not here to sell you and tell you you need this. I'm here to explain to you what it can do for you, and you decide if it's something that is in alignment with what you want. The other part is like my kids are very engaged in the world. Again, in my generation, that wasn't weird. In this generation, it is. In this time of living, people have trouble. Young kids, teens, young adults, even some adults have trouble engaging in the world and being able to make eye contact, have a conversation, share thoughts. It's it's a very big foundation to me in like what I'm teaching Be the Hero is this concept of like let's raise whole humans. Let's raise humans that contribute, that aren't just looking for handouts, aren't just looking for somebody take care of me. Okay. We're training ourselves how to be that, and we're teaching our kids how to be that. Obviously, I'm very passionate about that part. Go like this again. What I do is I'm like, wow, what an amazing life. I love my RVs. You know what? Sometimes I need a break. I go stay in an Airbnb. I love that my life is intentional, meaningful, and fulfilling. One of the things I teach in a big reason I had this transition is I read this book called Happier. And I really went through all the exercises in it and said, you know what? This is my intention. I want self responsible, driven kids who have a sense of self. That's a big part because I could have put them in competitive sports and they'd be maybe competitive or driven or so, but that's different. That's having to listen to somebody else tell you what to do. I wanted it to come from within them. So this intention and meaning, right? I wanted to share new backyards, new experiences with them. I wanted to feel the exhilaration of accomplishment and also to like really have to sit in the sense of failure sometimes. We have had to many times and we come together from things like that. We pull together and it makes us a team and then it makes us feel more worthy, more confident, more capable. Now, I feel like I get to make such a positive impact. At least at the very least, hopefully you can feel my positive energy through the camera. Like I'm a high energy, positive thinking person. Okay. I'm always going to look for an opportunity out of every obstacle. Okay. And while my business, and I said, oh, maybe I kind of failed. I didn't really put as much time and energy into it that I have to self growth in my family. It will succeed 100% because this is what the world needs. We need more of this, the things that I'm teaching it. But while I'm doing it on my way to millions, it sparks joy. I love it. I'm passionate about it. And I get to do it with my kids. My husband is always around, sometimes too much, but we work on that. He does fun things with me. Like it's so great because our life used to revolve around a run and a workout. That was it. Now we go mountain biking and surfing and skiing and rock climbing and hiking and backpacking. And I know there's other sports that I'm missing, but we do lots of things always outdoors together. We did not grow up this way. Well, he did not grow up this way. I grew up water skiing and stuff. So it was a huge transition to get us to where we are now. But now it's so great. And on top of it, though, my life is simple. I don't have hardly anything to manage and no obligations. And I think some people like have a calendar for like doctor's appointments, all these things that we actually have to go to an orthodontist now. I put my two of my kids in braces. So it's like a big deal that we have to plan around orthodontists every like 2 or 3 months. But that's about it. Our life is just so simple. It makes me have energy for things that matter more to me. My life feels abundant because I always have options. Our life sits, we get to sit around and think in terms of what do we feel like doing? What do we want to do? I don't know. What do you want to do? Okay, you want to do that? You want to do that? You want to do that? Okay, let's find a way. Let's pull out our calendar here. And now our calendar is actually filled with things like, hey, I want to go rock climb on Thursday in Zion. Oh, I was thinking we could go out to Lake Powell next week, or we can do things. We have flexibility, which means we open up the doors to so many opportunities. And the amazing thing is I can share it doesn't take that much money. It takes so much less money than living our traditional life did. But I'm not trying to sell you on our lifestyle. I'm just trying to explain to you that at the root of it, it's mindset. It's how you think. It's the mindset you're carrying into your day, which is really rooted in your thoughts and beliefs. I feel really appreciated. My kids tell me thank you all the time. In some ways, too much, because I tell them you guys have to thank me for every single little thing. Thanks for bringing us to the gym. You guys, we go to the gym every day. I know, but thanks you anyways. I'm so happy. That's great. That's like they beaming with gratitude. How amazing is that? Right? I feel I feel like I created something that has had a huge impact on them too, because the skill set that they have learned through life and the mindset and their action set that they can do, the things that they are capable of, it's like it's they're never going to struggle. They might have times where, like, Isabel had a bad experience with this dance competition this last weekend. 24 hours later, she can reframe it and go, okay, it's out of my control. What's in my control is my attitude. Let's move on. So, things that I think back to, these are really, again, really, really big. That if I hadn't overcome my self-worth issue, that feeling of like, oh, my house isn't as clean as your house. My house isn't as big as your house. My car isn't as expensive as your house. My kid doesn't score as many goals as yours. Those are all rooted in self-worth, trying to prove that we are enough. If I hadn't faced my fear of being alone, because I was extremely, what's the word, whipped, they would say, like when you're dating somebody, oh, they're whipped. Like had to be around my husband all the time until I had kids, and then I needed to be around my kids or my husband. I still happen to be around them quite a bit, but it's not from the same emotional state. It's not from a needy. It's like, hey, I'm going to go do this. You guys can join me. It doesn't matter if you join me or not. I'm going to go do it. But cool, if you want to come join me, that's awesome. And that I acted on my intuition. I have a very good relationship, I'd say, with my intuition. I'm very intuitive. And so having that is one thing. And then being able to act upon it is a whole nother skill set. So it's not like to rub it in. I'm just saying, like, hey, like, it doesn't take living in an RV. It doesn't take traveling. It's an energy field that you embody in your soul to be this happy, to be able to sit and sip coffee on the beach by yourself and be like, wow, I feel at peace. To be able to laugh with your spouse, even if you've been married 25 years, to have kids who want to go hike with you and wear the same t-shirt as you and joke, and to be able to get on camera and share my voice, and to be able to go rock climb with Victor when it took him 10 years to get over the fear of rock climbing. And there's a picture at the bottom of us in Norway. It was one of our first places we stopped when we spent 6 months in Europe, and to enjoy teaching my kids, and just, again, having this passionate, fun relationship. It's important. So if you're thinking, Robin's saying that I need to move to the beach or into an RV, the answer is no. It has nothing to do with that. Okay. That's not what we're teaching in Be the Hero. Okay. We're teaching the mindset, the mindfulness, the self awareness, and overcoming the programming that if you wanted to move to the beach, or if you wanted to live in an RV, or just travel more, that it would be easy for you. Like, I can do this. Okay. 3 things that changed for me then. These are the 3 big things that I'm trying to teach you. From 2009 to 2012, I obsessed, and I really questioned why. Why do we do this as society? Why do we get in these mortgages? Why does my day look like this? Like I said, everyone reads The Alchemist, and it's like talks about, you have a deeper purpose. Well, I did read that. That was the first one. I'm like, yeah, what is my purpose? What did I used to love to do as a kid? What am I wishing I was doing right now? And I used the Happier book, which we broke down as like a course inside Be the Hero to kind of help you with that. I started going to yoga a lot. And I think that really developed a lot of my metacognition. So, metacognition is your ability to hover outside yourself and observe yourself. In meditation, if you have a meditation practice, you probably notice yourself observing your thoughts. But the problem is a lot of times we get up out of our meditation practice and we stop observing. We go back get distracted with what's happening out around us. And so we lose that ability to observe. But I really think one of the things that made it, so I mean, that was up to 2012, that made it so that in 2013, I could do the irresponsible thing, and got me to when we were to 2015 traveling and all the things I'll share with you in a second, was that I had really developed this ability to go, what am I thinking right now? What am I feeling? Why am I feeling that? Where does that come from? Why am I acting like this? That doesn't mean I always acted perfectly, no way. But at least to be able to observe is a huge step. And then I am a very firm believer in this one. And this is one I'm not necessarily helping you with in Be the Hero. I'm encouraging it. But if you want help with this one, you need to do it. Ideally, you should be doing a retreat with me. I started surfing in 2012. we were camping at the beach all the time. I picked up a surfboard. I'm like, I'm just going to try to figure out how to surf. And it was probably the dumbest way to do it. I should have got a lesson, but it was fulfilling. It felt good to go and just paddle out there and try to learn and try and have some success, fail, try, fail, success. And in the process of stepping outside my comfort zone, in trying something new and in learning it, I developed immense amount of self-confidence that I did not have before 2009. Development rewired my beliefs around what is possible and acceptable to me, not to society. This is important. Think about that's what self-development is, to decide what do you believe is possible. I'm about to show you what I had no idea was possible. And I can only imagine, I can actually imagine what's possible in my future going forward now because of it. Developed the metacognition, could observe myself from the third person, and I continuously face fear and self-doubt. This is not to say that I have an immense amount of fear and self-doubt, but I face it head on while staying in tune with intuition. These are the things that we're trying to teach in here. Let's just talk about, kind of messed up my slide here. So let's just get this fixed because I don't know what I did. Let's just talk about what that looked like. So for me, it started really small at first. Where should I put this? At first, it started with just doing more field trips. Like I first defied the norm by taking the kids. That's Danny. That's Tatiana when she must have been like two or three. So this was probably around 2013, 2014. We just didn't do as much homeschool curriculum. We'd spend more time in the beach. I was going to yoga a lot, and I would just tell Danny and Gabby. So they must have been about 11 and 12, 11, 13 at the time. I'd be like, hey, if you want to go to yoga with me, you can. I had done a yoga teacher training in 2012. And so they were like, sure, that sounds nice. I think a big thing why they started going with me is they saw how calm it made me, how much they could just see that like I was happy, and they're like, oh, you go to yoga, you're happy, like maybe I'll go try it. There wasn't pressure, but we just kind of started shifting our days. It was less about, do a homeschool curriculum, fill our days with soccer practice. We were still involved in that, but it was just less. Shifted our time just a tiny bit. Then it kind of grew. We started taking, at the time we had a truck and trailer, we started taking trips out to the desert. And we did a couple, I think we did a Lake Powell trip and to Arizona. We just started traveling more than just Hawaii. I'd paddle out to surf by myself, like I talked about. I even would get to a point when we were still living before we moved to the beach that I would take our RV. So we had multiple different RVs. I love RVs, can you tell? Before our trek and trailer, we had a Class A. A lot of times when the kids were much younger, I would take that to the beach and just spend the week there. And Victor would come and go from there instead of our house because it was my happy place. And then eventually we moved to the beach, like I said, even though it wasn't financially responsible. A lot of times I'd set my alarm early and go watch the sunrise because we lived in a spot where you could watch sunrise over the mountains across the bay. And then it was just like a hop, skip, and a jump to the ocean to check the surf. And then I'd run back and go, Gabby, let's go surf. This is not to say like, look at how great I am. This is to reinforce how much potential you might be sitting on. In 2009, I was just thinking, I love my family. Just want something else. And then look from 2015, we moved into our RV. We took a trip to Big Sur, a 3-week trip to Utah and Colorado, a 6-week trip to Oregon and California, or Canada and Washington. In 2016, we went to Costa Rica for a month. We went to 6 months in Europe. We traveled in a tent and then an RV, went to 15 countries, covered at least 10,000 kilometers. We went and spent a couple weeks in Oahu. Next year, we closed our brick and mortar that we had. We spent a month in Costa Rica, 3 more months traveling through Oregon, Washington, Canada, 2 months in Spain and France. In 2018, we spent 2 weeks in Hawaii, then a month in New Zealand, a month in Bali. We eventually tried to relocate because we had a home base in San Diego. We kept an RV there, and that would be like our home base. How we'd fly back, and Victor would work clients and in between trips and save up money. And We tried to do Bend, total failure. We tried to do Breckenridge, total failure. But in the process of being in those places, we got to like really develop our mountain biking, tons of hiking, um, eventually like learned how to ski, and that ended up fueling our future years of travel. Like that's a driving force in where we travel to now. 2018, I drove the Alaskan Highway to Denali with the kids, and Victor flew up. We hiked, just Isabel, Gabby, and I hiked the Tour de Mont Blanc. We skied a ton in Colorado, Mammoth, Utah. 2020, everything hit the fan for everyone. It was a blessing for us, though. We ended up, because Victor's a personal trainer, it made it easier for him to go digital. We tried renting a house in Montana to escape the chaos. I thought, oh, I'll just be a homesteader. Quickly realized homesteading is not for me. And we went back to travel. Again, everything that's possible. Look, it's just the dream now. We still, 2021, 22, 23, 24, I can tell you all the places we go. But it's not about where we're going. Like, we're chasing mountains basically all the time. We're chasing summer mountains for climbing and climbing and hiking, and it's great. And in the winter, we're chasing it to ski and snowboard. In between, we find climbing where it's warmer or surf destinations. It's just great. There's a picture of in the middle of our whole family and my son Danny on the left, who lives in one of our RVs there here in St. George. These are a couple of pictures from this summer where actually this one on the mountain was the first 14er that Victor summited with us. It was a big deal because he's great at all these other sports, but for some reason hiking's just taken a lot longer. And he did it, and it was great. He did almost die, but it's okay. It was great. It's a good YouTube video on it. Picture of us all together as a family in Sandpoint, Idaho. Look, to me, when they were younger, it was really, really important that I raise them in a way where they would want to see me. Now, that wasn't to make them dependent on me. That wasn't to manipulate. It was just, I just thought like, gosh, I appreciate my parents, but I don't I'm not excited to go spend time necessarily with them. I wanted to, but it just didn't work that way. And as I'm about to explain, but I wanted it to be different. I wanted to I knew deep down the reason I didn't feel like I wanted to go see my parents, that I ended up sometimes saying this have to, was because I didn't feel seen or heard as a child or as a teen or as a young adult. And so to me, I was like, I need to go out of my way to make sure that I'm seeing and hearing them, that it's not just about me. Okay, so I want to go into a little bit of, okay, so again, am I saying that you need to travel the world and do bigger adventures? Maybe that's what you want. That's okay too. But I'm telling you to question what you want. What is it that you're in? For me, I did not realize that my lack of self-worth disconnected me from my authentic self. I really feel like I wasn't even thinking, what is my authentic self? I had no idea. I just knew something felt wrong. And in trying to make it right, I discovered, oh, I have this thing called the self. Getting married, having a family, it was great. But I needed something more. So I noticed that having this family also made me kind of dependent on others in order to feel significant. I'd catch myself worrying that, what if they grew up and left me? What would I do? How would I be alone? Not to say the same, it's not exactly the same as, yes, there was this fear of, don't abandon me. But at the same time, I didn't want them to see me because of guilt. That wouldn't feel right. So I was like thinking through further down the line or more upstream, you could say, of like what could this relationship look like so that it felt right. I have in a book that I'm writing, it tells stories about like I was in like tears when my husband abandoned me and started doing jujitsu. It makes no logical sense, but from an emotional standpoint, I was so upset that the person who I did everything with, how dare he go develop a hobby of his own. And in the process of finding finding myself and like creating my own identity outside of being his wife, I discovered all these amazing sports and amazing joie de vivre and desire to travel. If I had played small, I might have damaged my relationship by asking my kids to fill a void that I wasn't filling for myself. I could have easily been like, "Fine, Victor, you're doing your own purpose over there. I'm just going to be codependent and needy of my kids and make sure they fill every void that you're not filling now for me." I'm so grateful I didn't do that. But it would be easy to do that. It's very common for us to want a significant other to fill a void, childhood wound, and then to ask our kids to do it. We don't want to do that. That's where we're not going to do that on Be the Hero. We teach you how not to do that. If I didn't believe that I was worthy or capable of more, I might have let self-doubt keep me stuck in a mediocre version. So glad I didn't. Instead, I let me into the unknown and force myself to be brave and bold as I charge head on into a long but well rewarded self-growth journey. Make a couple leaps in awareness and understanding just to make sure I'm connecting some dots for you so that you understand what I'm saying. Okay. So remember, we had this idea that we need self-development, we need to rewire our beliefs, we need metacognition, we need to become very aware, and we need self-confidence. We need to do hard things, right? I really these a few beliefs that I recognize that I changed along the way. I used to think a good mom sacrifices her time, energy, and desires for her kids. And then I realized that a good mom chases things she's passionate about and invites her kids to join her. I used to think a house would provide safety and security, and that my kids need a house and a bedroom and a lot of stuff so that they feel stable and loved. Now I know kids need parents who are present and emotionally available. And if they feel seen and heard, if your kid feels seen and heard from their parents, they will feel safe and loved. I used to think competitive sports will teach my kids discipline, self work ethic, and build confidence. But now I know that kids learn discipline, work ethic, and can build confidence without pressure. It's important, without the pressure, by providing them opportunities to try new sports and to tackle hard adventures. Are there beliefs that you have from your childhood or from society that might be preventing you from living your best life? Think about it. Are there things that are there resistance? Notice as I'm talking, are there resistance points that you're like, yeah, but Robin, you don't understand. Oh, let me validate why I do what I do. I talk a lot with clients about like there's always this need to justify why we are what like we are. And while it's really good, that's not necessarily self-love. Okay? Because really the best love you can do for yourself at one point is just admitting where you are. Use the analogy if I'm hiking. If I'm going hiking and I get lost and my kids are depending on me to get them to safety back to the RV or to the car, and I sit there and go, but you guys don't understand. There was those Karen rock stacks. They were sitting there and that led me astray. And there wasn't a log blocking the wrong trail. And I sit there and I justify or I defend by explaining what happened. You see, when you stop to tie your shoe, I went and looked at my phone, but I got a text. And so I forgot to look at the map, whatever. Bad example, but you get the point of like, we have to admit to ourselves. Instead, I should be like, oh man, you guys, yeah, I messed up. I probably should have paid more attention. I was kind of distracted by that text I got. And shoot, I'm really sorry. But you know what? We're here. Let's figure this out together. Let's figure out where we want to go. So if there are beliefs, if there are things that you feel like you have to justify or defend, it doesn't really matter. What matters is, are you on the path to where you want to be? Or is there something nagging at you that's saying, you know what? I know I'm capable of more. I want more. I want more. I want, you know, notice I talked about this in metacognition. How good are you at observing your thoughts and emotions when you aren't meditating? I talked about this, like I said, but I think we become really good. We had a lot of people come to me and like, you're spiritual and that's awesome. You do yoga, you meditate. But the thing is, there's this disconnect. You're good at it when you're sitting on a pillow or doing a vinyasa, but all of a sudden you're in a heated argument with your spouse. Or all of a sudden you're overwhelmed trying to pay bills, get work done, the kids are screaming. Or you're at a social gathering where you're like trying to be the life of the party and hear and be heard, and you forget. That's one of the things I help train you in Be the Hero is how to take that observation, that awareness from the pillow or the yoga mat into your everyday life. Are you in tune with your intuition and the law of attraction? This is something I don't think I really developed until the last year, 2 years maybe. Being able to move away from that logical driven brain into that emotionally driven brain that doesn't always follow the logical, but often gets what the logical brain wants, it gets it much faster. It's called manifestation. But what happens is like if you're living on autopilot, just constantly reacting and using that logical mind, you forget to tune into your emotional guidance system. Okay. And that's one other thing that we teach in Be the. This one's like, for me, this one's the most important, at least in what my intention was, is like, do you want your kids to come home at Christmas every year? Do you want them to come home more when they're adults? I mean, do you want them to come home more than that? Or worst case, like, do you want them living on your couch when they're adults? Like, what type of future do you want for your kids? What type of relationship do you want them to have with you when they're adults? It's really, really a centerpiece of what we teach in Be the Hero is helping you to see and hear yourself so that you can see and hear your children so that you can build a better relationship with them. Okay. The most important thing is to be able to see and hear your own needs and meet them because we are living in what I describe as a generational self worth crisis. It's so prevalent, it's everywhere. It accidentally happened. It's just societal programming, childhood wounds, all that good stuff that I'm going to talk about. We accidentally ended up creating relationships where we think we're acting selflessly and overgiving and being good and kind and all that in hopes that others fill our tank or provide us, which our tank typically comes down to we want to feel significant, validate me, prove that I'm needed, prove that I'm worthy, prove that I'm important. This is just normal human emotion. We all want that, but we've not been necessarily taught how to fulfill that ourselves so that we can create healthier relationships. Think of it this way. I love this picture. This is like the expectation web of life, right? Let's see, who shall we pick today? Let's start with the mom in the center of the web because that's kind of like what I would feel like. So I've got a couple siblings, a coworker. I don't really have a coworker. I have a daughter who's a coworker, but I've got a kid. I've got a mom and a dad. Actually, I have multiple stepmoms and stepdads and aunts, and we've got a kids coach and we've got a daughter, and then the daughter has a friend, and the friends have their parents who you see on the weekends for soccer games, and then there's another um, son, and then you've got your husband who has a father and a mother and a sibling and a boss and a coworker, and their other kid and their friends' parents, right? This is what your week looks like. You're constantly having to navigate this web, and every single person in this web has an expectation of you might not say it, but you know what? You have an expectation out of every single person. Can you believe what Grant's soccer coach did? He didn't put Grant in for the beginning of the game. I can't believe that. It's an expectation. Grant, the soccer coach might be, hey, you need to not say anything to the referee when they have a bad call. He has an expectation of you. We can go to your husband's boss has an expectation of him. Hey, you need to work 12 hours today to get that proposal done. And he has an expectation of his boss. Just think about it. Think about it. If you don't join Be the Hero, screenshot this page and really think about your week this week and how much Anger, frustration, sadness, disappointment, how much emotion is driving your week based on this expectation web? Let's not even get started with mothers calling or mother-in-laws calling or sisters or sister-in-laws. Like just just really like even your simple mother, father, child expectation web is super dynamic, right? What I said, but like let's just we're not we're okay, well, it adds to it. We're not thinking about how much that expectation web is rooted in each person's childhood wound. And we have lots of wounds, but let's say it's a main one. So let's say you, Tina, the mother over here, says, feels like you have to live up to the perfection of your parents. That's your wound. I have to be perfect. I have to be perfect. I have to be perfect. But you forget that your dad was raised really poor and he has the wound of, I need to work really hard because I had so few opportunities in life and I need to say yes to every dollar I can make. And that's why I've never been around for you, Tina, and I really don't know how to talk to you or hear you or feel your emotions because look, I was poor and I got to offset this poor card and prove to the world, to myself, to my father that I am successful. And maybe your mom was like always worried about just basic survival. And so she's just constantly making sure that there's enough food. And she, maybe worries about fear of rejection. So she spends all of her time worrying about if her husband sees her because her own parents didn't see her. You can see how this gets complicated. I feel like couples retreat. You can see how. And then your husband, maybe he's trying, his dad maybe walked down on him. So now he's trying to be the dad he didn't have, but he really has no one to model. So he's kind of like shooting from the hip here. And you're judging him because you're like, well, you're not being the perfect provider that my father was, even though I'm kind of angry at my father for not being around. I have to laugh. It's this truth of what the world's like, but it is funny when we think about it. And Brad's mom, your mother-in-law, she's the youngest of 10, so she's kind of whiny and needy because she's resentful because of course she's the youngest of 10, she never got attention. And you can see, your son, he's, sports is everything to him. He just wants to be the best on the team and get all the playing time, which is why you were yelling at his soccer coach for not putting him in from the get-go. Your son Terry feels like he's just so different and nobody understands me. And I'm just going to be okay sitting in my room by myself. Okay, we get the point, right? This is what overall you might feel like I just feel so alone. I struggle, it's hard. I wish I had interests. I wish something entertained me. I wish I didn't feel so needy and need so much attention, but I just kind of wish somebody would include me more often. And while you guys include me and I self-sacrifice, can you say thank you, maybe? Can you show me some appreciation? I wish I wish they felt like I love them. Grant, you're amazing. You scored the winning goal, but like, could you be proud of me too? I made sure you had all your snacks and your soccer bag packed. And I just wish I wasn't so tired. I'm just so dang tired all the time. And then yesterday I blew up. I was short with Tegan because she wasn't ready for violin on time. And now I just have so much guilt because I lost my patience and I just wish I could stop beating myself up. Okay, you see it. We just keep going and going. And it's like the emotional impact it has on our health or the impact our emotions have on our health is hard. Okay. The damage it does to our relationships is hard. The damage it does to our own self-dialogue, our self-belief, our confidence, and how we love ourselves is hard. So we have to break this cycle. And it's hard to break because isn't this what every and let's not forget that our kids might not be living up to our expectations because we have trouble seeing that they themselves are dealing with fear of rejection, fear of abandonment, fear of judgment, punishment, conflict, control, all of these being dismissed, criticized, judged, or perceived as, or how they're perceived, rejection, sorry, mistype, betrayal, abandonment. There's so much emotion at play, right? So that expectation becomes this meet my need, meet my need. Father of Tina, did you meet my need? Tegan, did you meet my need? Coworker of husband, Brad, I think his name is, did you meet my need? Terry's friend, did you meet my need? Everybody wants their needs met, right? Needs, right? When you start to see and meet your own needs, you become emotionally present. You can start to hear and see your kids' needs. And just being present, emotionally available, understanding them is going to create a domino effect. This ripple is so powerful. Then all of a sudden, they feel seen and heard, and they're like, hey, mom's not so bad to hang out with. Mom's in the kitchen making dinner. Maybe I could go in and just talk to her. Maybe I could sit here and chop carrots for her, right? Then they want to be around you. There is a law of reciprocity that is so powerful here. When you see and start your own needs, you're not going to fall into the guilt trap. You're going to be better at saying no and setting boundaries, right? I know for me, it was really easy when I fell in love with surfing because I went and did that for me. When I fell in love with surfing, it was really easy for me when my mom would call, be like, hey, I want to come over. Great. You can't come over right now. You can come over when I'm done surfing. Or great, come over and watch the kids so I can go surfing. It was so much easier to not be guilted into what I should be doing and what I needed to be doing. Better boundaries means more energy. Okay. When you see and meet your own needs, you feel worthy. You feel happy, engaged in the world, enthusiastic, passionate, empowered. Those energy, those emotions are what fuel being a creator, what fuel manifestation. So if you are day, but if you find yourself really at the start of this video, what I said, like feeling like, yeah, I'm grateful, I love my life, but the emotion trap from that expectation need that I end up stuck in is keeping me in more of an emotional frequency of overwhelmed, frustrated, disappointed. Maybe on some days it's a win and you're apathetic, which is actually a better emotion than those others. This is very simple, what I want to teach you. If you are a parent with metacognition and intrinsic self-worth, you will 100% create a happy, connected family. If you are raising kids with metacognition and intrinsic self-worth, they will become self-responsible, happy adults. If you have happy, self-responsible adults, you will continue to create family dynamic when they are adults and you have eventually grandkids where you have a happy, connected family. I can't prove this because I don't have grandkids yet, but I am certain that if my kids are happy and self-responsible adults, they are going to find spouses who are happy, self-responsible adults, and they're going to want to raise kids that have intrinsic self-worth and with metacognition. Okay, it starts with you. Whew. So remember what you want this web to look like. Not even today. I know what you probably want it to look like today, but it's more than that. It's more than that because we don't solve this overnight, right? We don't rewire your brain, change your beliefs overnight. It's something that has to happen. It's a life practice. But if it's so, the thing is simple. It's just not easy, right? So if it's simple, why do so many people struggle? Two things: nature and nurture, which is your programming, right? I'm going to go this way. If you want to try to do it on your own, go for it. Go for it. I'm here for the people who need me. Okay. If you think you can do it on your own, look, your nature is your emotions. Take control of your emotions. Basically, your emotions are your ego's defense to keep you safe. Nurture, it's your programming. It's the beliefs you were given. If you can instill new beliefs, you can rewire this. I have another amazing slide here that has so think of it this way. Right? This is you. You're this tip of this iceberg. On the top, you have life's demands. I got to take the kids to school or homeschool them. I got to nurture my marriage. I got to pay the bills. I got to go get groceries, make my meals, work out, meditate, yoga. I have a job, career, right? Life's demands. We all know them. I want a clean house that's organized. I want to not have to do the laundry and run errands. I want to go travel. I want to get massages. I want to go on shopping sprees. I want to get a whole new wardrobe that doesn't date me from the 90s. I want kids that want to hang out with me. I want my husband to understand he even shares his own. Wouldn't that be great? But underneath the tip of the iceberg is a program and emotions. This program is like, what will people think of me? What does society judge me as? How am I going to prove my worth? Or the one I see the most is like, if I'm stressed and busy, I must be significant. Or maybe it's a belief you're handed in childhood, like, money doesn't grow on trees. We have all of these emotions, right? I know these firsthand, these fear, like, oh my gosh, my kids, like, if I don't send them to college, they're not going to be able to support themselves and they will live on my couch. Or fear of being alone. Oh my gosh, they're going to be so successful and happy without me. I'll never see them. Or fear of like, what are people going to think if I'm homeschooling my kids? Oh, I'm those. Um, like even more primal. We're scared of starving. We're scared of death. We're scared of loss. We're scared of not fitting in. We're scared of not being cool. It goes on and on and on. This is just human nature, right? We need to look at it, like see it. Easiest analogy is I drive a lot of RVs. I have had so many flat tires. Sometimes, the desire is I want to go from A to B. But sometimes that flat tire just happens and you just have to deal with it. So it really helps if you have this starting point of understanding that there's this conscious mind that we think is driving the boat, is driving our car, right? It's reason and logic and critical thinking and one task at a time and voluntary actions and limited memory, and it perceives the past, present, and future. It's the conscious mind that we think is deciding what happens, but it's really the subconscious mind that's underneath the iceberg, the part that we can't see of the iceberg, that's really in charge, right? And awareness is we have to bring awareness from what's underneath up to the conscious mind to rewire actions. Our life has to look different. We have to do different things. And you've probably heard us if you've seen any of our other videos, but we talk a lot about how your mind is just a computer, right? You just are born with this innate hardware. It's your body, your genetics, your unique soul. 0 to 14, your environment, your family life creates these beliefs. They become solidified as truth. And it just runs on repeat, right? And you get input from school, family, experience. Here you are today with this beautiful computer called your programming. Consequence, you're living on autopilot, right? Groundhog Day, day in, day out. That's why you're thinking, is this it? Okay, inside Be the Hero, we are going to help you rewire your brain by inserting a brand new program. One of the ways we do it is we're going to talk a lot about personality, because your personality literally is that as a child, you had an unmet need or trauma. Okay, that forms your Enneagram. You have a defense mechanism for an unmet need or trauma that creates thoughts, makes you think a certain way. You think that on repeat, it creates beliefs. Those beliefs create feelings. We go into a lot of detail in this in Be the Hero, but built off of Dr. Joe Dispenza, Dr. Gabor Mate, Myers-Briggs personality typing. All of these things come together. The I Ching, which is based on, way BC understanding of your soul's imprint. We do astrology, numerology. All of these things is a mix of like your innate, what you were born with, certain characteristics. You needed certain things. They didn't get met or met in the way you want. You started thinking certain ways. You started believing these thoughts. They trigger certain feelings. Over time, you keep feeling the same way. You've got now a personality. Your personality is your personal reality. If today you wake up and you look around and go, wow, I don't like this personal reality, then you have to change your personality. That is not to say that if you're an Enneagram 8, say like me, that you have to become necessarily an Enneagram 2. But we do have to rewire the beliefs so that they're not so stuck. Like for me, of that very firm control, right? I had to throw caution to the wind. I used to want to manage every detail, and I had to allow myself to step into the unknown. The belief around control. That's why one of the things we look at, screenshot this, think about this for a little while. nine uncommon need mets are Enneagram. I do not think the Enneagram is going, I think it's just a level of awareness that there is definitely an underlying belief here that you must be perfect or helpful or achieve or unique or capable or loyal or fun or strong or harmonious, that you must be this. And that's what's preventing you from stepping into this next element of what. So keep that in mind. Think about it over the week. The hard truth, though, is on top of this, your brain has the most incredible negativity bias. Like it's 5 times more likely to remember something negative than something positive. So we have to work really hard at undoing this negativity bias. Every day you have 60 to 80,000 thoughts. 95 are percent about are unconscious. Okay. And because these negative memories are playing on repeat, you start to believe that there's truth, even though they're not. It's just your brain hijacking you. Now, if you've had trauma, the amount of negative beliefs are probably even more, right? Because you have a wiring system that we have to change. 95% of who we are is just a by the age of 35 is just a memorized set of behaviors, emotional reactions, unconscious habits, thoughts, emotions, beliefs, perceptions. It's just wait and change. Okay. I'm not going to touch too much on this, but a lot of it is that we think that disease is based on this programming of, things that happen to us. But really, it's all rooted in our thoughts. That's why we bring in rewiring your brain with health. They go hand in hand. If you have a health issue, it's not a health issue, it's a belief issue. Okay. So we have to go in and changing those thoughts and beliefs so that your body epigenetics is about how much our environment programs our genes a certain way. And again, I'm not going to get into this. We get this in certain courses in Be the Hero, but just keep that in mind that you're not a victim here. These things are not. If you let's use something like simple like diabetes. If you have diabetes, consider that it's not that you have a gene that was coded, it's that you were instilled with a program to think and feel a certain way that turned on a certain gene. Your genes can turn on 200 different expressions. So you can change which genes get expressed and which ones don't through your thoughts, which is pretty amazing, don't you think? Like how much more do you feel in control of your future? So that's what I was talking. Emotions can upregulate or downregulate your genes to signal some to turn off, turn on, and turn off. Okay, when your stress goes up, genes that are responsible for immune function downregulate. But when you're really happy and you have elevated emotions, guess what? The genes responsible, they turn on, they upregulate. Okay. That's why, just something simple like our daily activities every day in Be the Hero, we send you a very short, either meditation or journal prompt, a video, things to help you experience more good emotions, right? Because it's just so easy for you to wake up in the morning and your brain to turn on a negative thought pattern. That's why every morning we send you there's a text alert you'll receive, and it's going to remind you of like, hey, let's sit in gratitude. Let's go. Let's just journal 10 things. Hey, close your eyes, meditate with me. I'm going to take you through a gratitude journal. What are you scripting? What are you dreaming about? Okay, let's draw a picture about that. Let's get in those positive emotions. Okay, that's why I happen to be somebody who was just more willing to step into the unknown, but it's because I stepped into the unknown and myself with all these positivities, just more good things just kept coming my way, right? Positivity breeds more positivity. So you have to plant the seed for the right things. We know this stuff, right? We know it in our brain, but do we do it? Okay, 75% of this, for the average person, you're probably not average, so, is spent in a state of stress. That's a lot of time. Emotionally addicted to these negative feelings of guilt, unworthiness, fear, frustration. It's a default setting. Okay. Well, we can change that. Neurons that fire together wire together. That means the more certain synaptic combinations fire, the stronger they get and the more sensitive they become. This is why when something bad happens, our family, like, we can shift it pretty darn fast. Okay. Because we've trained the neurons to fire for positivity instead of to fire for stress, to fire for that emotional addiction of um, you know, drama, right? How drama driven are people around you? We find ways to fire it into positivity, positive thinking, optimistic thinking. Okay. Um, just touching a little bit neuroplasticity, like, this is how the brain is so trainable. Okay. We have to just create new highways, new ruts for our brain to operate. Okay. That's what we're doing inside Be the Hero, helping you with neuroplasticity, helping you create new pathways so your brain fires in different ways. You think and feel a certain way, the more likely that future is going to be. When you think when you think and feel, oh my gosh, I'm so excited. Today I'm going to go to yoga with my son. How great is that? And tomorrow we're going for a bike ride. And then, oh man, my daughter, she's kind of tired of doing violin. And I told her, you don't have to, just play for yourself. You don't have to go to lessons. And instead, we're going on a trip this weekend up to, where do you guys want to go? You want to go to Aspen. We're going to go to Aspen for the weekend. It's going to be great. Okay, so aside from health and happiness, they're not that big. What is the consequences of programming on our life? Like, if we choose, like, whatever, it's just health, it's just happiness. Just kidding. Of course, it's important. Well, if we don't shift our thoughts, we never really open ourselves up to new possibilities. That's why I spent time talking about at the beginning of, I just wanted this. I actually achieved it in, like, very short amount of time. But in achieving that, I opened myself up to so much more that I had no idea that I wanted. The po- just chasing possibilities is the most exciting thing, I think. If you are not defined by a vision of your future, you will become a result of the past. Again, if you are not defined by a vision of the future, you will be a result. This is really, like, think about it. If your life looked like this before, what are the odds that it's going to keep looking like this? Okay. Um, Actually, we have videos on. I want to try to wrap this up so that you can get started on Be the Hero. Need to talk about this. It's inside Be the Hero. Put a Create your energetic frequency. You attract the exact match of your energetic frequency. If you are this person who is energetic, who's saying, hey kids, you know what? Let's go have a bonfire at the beach and watch fireworks tonight. Hey kids, let's go have a picnic on the top of this mountain. Hey, let's forget about all this stress and, like, let's just be more joyful. Let's watch a happy movie. Let's play a board game. Let's Whatever it is in your family that would be fun. Be that energetic match. Right? If you are ho hum, if you're dragging through your day, you need Be the Hero to shift into this feeling of joy and excitement and adventure, willingness to try new things. So, my chain reaction, in case it hasn't hardwired into you right now, your programming creates your mindset, right? The lens in which you see the world. It's hardwired. It's creating an addiction to certain emotions. Okay, you're going to get the same results of stress. You're going to come in to Be the Hero. We're going to rewire it. You're going to see things through a totally new, beautiful lens. Okay. Again, I don't need to go through this. Okay. How are we going to do it? If it's like my whole psychology is that, how am I going to do it? It's kind of easy. We have this. Okay. So step one, you're going to become aware of what this programming is that you're running. Okay, you're not just going to stop there though. It's one, the program, it's seeing your personality and going, oh, we can look at it in lots of ways. One, the problem is you can mistype